Hello, hello, everyone. Thanks for dropping in. You have reached positive vibes with Aeriol, healing body, mind, and soul. I'm here today with one of my fabulous guests, Julia Harriet Anderson. And we're here. She's one of the co authors of our upcoming book compilation, Awakened Leaders Empowering Stories of Self Healing, Triumph, and Transformation. Now, Julia's been on our podcast before, and we talked a little bit about her amazing book, Under Construction. I imagine we'll talk a little bit more about it today. But,
Great.
Julia, I just want to say thank you for taking the time out of your busy day and spending some time with us here on Body, Mind, Soul TV and Media Network.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here with y'all. This is wonderful.
I just think you're amazing. I think you're amazing not only because I loved your Under Construction book and I love what you stand for, but I love watching you on social media, um, just going all over the place promoting and speaking about your book. I can't think of a better example and embodiment of an awakened leader, Julia.
Oh, thank you. Wow, what a true compliment. I mean, I appreciate
Yeah.
that so much.
Well, I just appreciate how you got out and really set out. It's a little bit what your chapter is about, isn't it?
It is.
Can you tell our audience what they can expect from the chapter? Can you tell them a little bit? Don't give it all away.
Oh, of course. Of course. Absolutely. So I will say that I very much am a people person, and nothing has made me more so than in bringing my story forth into the world and then, really engaging people as I just go through my day. So,
Mm.
I love events. Events are lovely because there's some structure and that component can be helpful. But to be honest, I really like working on the fly. I mean, call it something that I've learned through working in construction. It's great. I was just mentioning as we embarked in this moment together, there's construction going on behind me. And it's kind of like being a mother where I'm used to the chaos. I'm like, oh, I know exactly what tools they're using. And it feels that way. So in meeting people, what I was so excited to bring forth in my sharing with Awakened Leaders is this component of, wow, we live in this time that's highly polarized. We're in this chaotic, stressful situation of every day to day changing financially, emotionally, so much burden that it can feel like that is almost impossible to connect. And what I wanted to show, through my story of being under construction, is that we can build these bridges to each other. So truly, the writing that I wanted to share in this next piece was, once I launched my story Under Construction, then I got to go out in the world and connect. And the people that I connected with brought me so much hope and joy for where we actually are headed,
Mm.
as a culture here in America, far beyond that, globally, and I mean spiritually, that there is a deep connection. And if we're willing to be vulnerable, willing to show up, go out on the road and make time, that beautiful points of connection are possible.
I love that. And you sure have done that. How many cities did you hit with your one woman book tour?
Well, I mean, gosh, I would say I can only imagine. I mean, it had to have been, well over a couple dozen, because I followed my heart, Ariel. I mean, I really did. I, I had no idea what to expect, but each morning I woke up and I love meditating, and I just grounded myself in, where do I need to be? Who do I need to be with today? And literally got in the car and went there. And the people that I found were exactly who I needed to be with. And it was that level of trust that I've developed over the past few years, because that's not been innate in me as a person. This is something that I've developed over time, and especially really through these challenging times of, going through the pandemic, going through a level of chaos unprecedented, where when I had this moment to just truly trust, everywhere I landed was perfect, in the sense of it was with the right people, in the right conversations, listening, holding space, receiving and giving, like on that level. And so it was thrilling. And I'm still in that level of experience where it just keeps unfolding.
I love it. I love it. So, when you're not saving the world by delivering your amazing message and following spirit, I love your courage and strength and commitment. Sorry, we're being photobombed by a dog. So
Aw,
construction wasn't our only photobomb for
yeah.
today. So those who are watching on video, get a special treat. If you're listening on the podcast, you'll have to go find the video show and check that out. Um, but when you're not traversing around and being a modern day sort of minstrel here, going from town to town, spreading your light and joy, what are you up to? How are you supporting people these days, Julia?
Well, I mean, being in community is like such a privilege to me. And
Mm.
so I live in a small town here in Washington State, outside of Seattle. And I being invested is huge. And one of the ways, I mean, I'm doing all sorts of stuff. I love being connected with the schools here. I have two children, and it's always just like, how can we give? How can we help support? And I live in a community where everyone's scaffolding each other, which is one of my favorite construction terms that I'll overuse. Is that how can we scaffold each other higher and higher in community? And one of the most fun ways that I'm doing it just personally right now, Aeriol, is that I, a year ago on the 10th of December, I started writing my book, and I had no idea that that's what I was doing. But I started a book writing challenge through social media, because I wanted to light a little fire, under my something. And I did. And it was so effective for me to have some structure, to have some accountability, to wake up every morning and know that I had made a commitment to this, that it ended up becoming, my best-selling novel, in the sense, my inspirational memoir was birthed through this process of just saying yes, saying, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take a risk. No, I don't have time, like all of us. No, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it anyway. And so I did that. And so recently, just on the anniversary, the 1 year anniversary, I, posed out to friends on social media as well to do a writing challenge. So not necessarily a book writing challenge, but just a writing challenge to show up every day and to make that time. And that's been hugely fun. We've been having a blast. It's this beautiful, eclectic group, who I never would have imagined, writers of all sorts, and just believers in themselves. And so I've been doing that, and it's been just every morning I wake up and no matter what, I get out of bed, and I'm really excited to do my work in the collective, as well as to embrace this group that is showing up right now in these times, under pressure, saying, yes, I can make 10 minutes for myself. And let's see what happens if I do that. If I make those 10 minutes, what else is possible? So it's been really dynamic and cool.
I love that. And I love the support. I think it's very important. I talk about this all the time in a lot of my writings in about leadership, et cetera, et cetera. Even in leadership, I say have a self-care practice that includes some sort of reflective journaling or
Yeah.
writing. I think it's so important, and I think you'll agree with me. If you write it down, you can observe it and change it. If it just stays in your head, it's just going to roll around forever. But to really examine and see what state you are in, to reflect upon the page is such a powerful, powerful tool. And I'm so, so happy that you're supporting communities doing that. I love those day pages, right?
Yeah,
Um, yeah, it's very,
absolutely.
what a tool. What a tool. Well, speaking of super tips or super tools, if you were going to give somebody a super tip, if they were just starting to perk up, or maybe they have the inkling to become an author, maybe, maybe they would like to come forward in one of our anthologies or tell their story, what would you recommend to them at this time, Julia?
That's a great question. And I love that question because always my heart leads me to one direction in that, and it's the community piece. Like, you are worthy of community around your story, and your story is important and it needs to be held. So you are one wonderful being, and that's beautiful. And this comes through you, but the story is bigger than you. And that's what I realized in bringing and birthing. That's the way I say, I have two children who I birthed, and I did not do that alone. It's what I always say, it's like with writing, it's like you need your midwife, your doula, your team, and when I did that with my kids, that was hugely supportive for me. Had I tried to do it alone or even with only my partner, that would have been so limiting. So I love that feeling of community, like the writing community and all parts of it. It includes editing. It includes, the process of taking the idea from here and bringing it out and then refining it and then packaging it and bringing it forth. I mean, it's fun. I've been really thinking about this in terms of the fact I've worked in construction for 6 years. I'm one of those unlikely people where when I say that to a lot of my friends or cohorts, they're like, you work in construction? I just had a woman that actually knows me quite well, and she didn't realize that component of my being. And I'm like, we hire people, right? So we subcontract. We don't go and do something that we don't know how to do. We hire the professionals. And as a writer, it's like you have this amazing idea, and sometimes you actually need to hire somebody to write it for you, and that's okay. I mean, that's this concept of ghostwriter. It's like, it's in you. There are so many ways to share that. And don't feel inhabited by the fact that you don't feel like you can write it, or you don't have the time in your mind. It's like, right, like, look at things that have been built. I mean, the number one saying is that Rome wasn't built in a day. Well, of course it wasn't, right? I mean, no matter how you feel about that, but that's the way we think of ourselves, as well. I should just be able to get this out of me. It should, if I was a writer, it would work. And it's never like that. It's like, no, get the team in, invest in yourself. That was the best thing I ever did for myself, was as a single mom, working in construction, not full-time writing, was saying, my first step was, how about I hire a writing coach? How about I bring in
Yeah.
someone, and once I did that, it shifted. It made that change of tides, that then there was a flow of energy in that made it possible for me to put out the story I needed to put out.
Yes, I love this. You don't just get born being a good writer.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And I will say, Julia, and I've told you this before, and I don't mind saying it, you are a good writer. It shows that you put time into it. As a book compiler and reading lots of people's entries and chapters, not everybody has taken the time to refine their story. And I think that that's what comes with the community thing. By sharing with other authors and getting that feedback, did that come across the way that I needed it to? And it
Yeah.
certainly is why when we do compilations at Body Mind Soul TV and Media Network, that we have the RHG team working on our side. We have the editors working. I mean, as a book compiler, thank goodness that the editing is not on top of me too. As a book compiler, right, I just gather the stories and the people together. It's fun to be the alchemist, to be the one to synthesize. But
Yeah.
all of the it's interesting to see all of the different I think it's different to see not only the different stories, but the styles of relaying them. I think that's what makes it rich and interesting.
I bet. I mean,
Yeah.
that sounds so fun. I mean, it's when I
Well,
was a
Julia, I
teacher.
can't wait for you to compile a book.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I'm so grateful to be working with you, Aeriol, because I'm learning so much. And that's the piece, having a background in teaching. One of my favorite parts of working with kids, especially younger kids, before they start putting up, the veils of their ego, in the sense of, I'm worried about what people are going to think. I'm thinking in those terms. When little kids start shooting stories out, it's so fabulous because it's free form and they start playing off of each other. And I really see that in any collective movement. It's like energetically, there's a synthesis that happens because of the sharing. And the stories are very different. The life experiences that come and build the story are very different. But what you find in any collective is that positivity, it's like it's infused, it's beautifully woven through like a tapestry that comes forth. And that's, I think, one of the most fun things that I'm experiencing and doing a collaborative writing project is that, because I love writing and it's something that has brought a lot of joy to my life. And I also love receiving story. That's something I've loved. My parents read aloud to me, and I had adults in my life and even other kids. We do, these plays. We do elaborate plays all the time as kids. And it was, it's something that I love. And to be back in that as an adult is so enriching. So
It's beautiful. Your enthusiasm is awesome. I was flashing as you were telling. I don't know if you know this piece of my background, but I developed at one point after being an artist in schools for a number of years. I developed a program with a local company in my town, in my city, for pre-public speaking, and I worked with kids from 5 to 8 to teach them good public speaking skills and to be able to confidently with good body, because somatically they get stuck in little emotional
sure.
reactions and everything, but I enjoyed teaching the public speaking aspect to the kids of that age, and the fun, the theater games and the improv that goes into that, so that they can feel confident. It feels just so genuine if you can get them before they get tainted, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, that fear comes in,
The
right?
fear comes
When
in.
you
I mean,
think
it's a
about,
natural progression and
that's
development
right.
stage, sure.
It
Yeah.
is. It is. And it's fun to be in community as an adult where you get to unpack and release those pieces that you pick up. So it almost becomes back to that wonderful childlike, mindset where there's the freedom and the confidence and the collaboration, where there's not the concern of, am I going to be liked? Is this good? It moves so much. It transcends that, right? Just like you
Yeah.
transcended coming in, and then you got to do your work and get input and figure out how to play with that. And then you get to go beyond that in the right communities. And that's how I feel here with
So
you and in this project. It's like, and truly this concept of taking being awakened and awakening right? Because it's an
Mm.
ongoing process. I mean, it's very much like building. You know, a building is never done, even when a house
Right.
is
Yes,
built.
your dream house is still going to be a work in
Yes.
progress, right?
And that's what we're doing. And I see that so much as the creative process, and it becomes really beautiful when it's not just what's the end game. It's like what are we unfolding together ongoing, because whatever the project ends up being tangibly, that's great, but actually it just keeps unfolding because it connects with new people. It brings in energy you could never have imagined, and that's truly, the concept of constructing ends up working in the same way. You
Love
bring
it.
in new energies, or there's a new homeowner that has a new vision. And I think it's really beautiful when we allow ourselves to be that fluid and be in community that values that and supports it, because it takes that. It takes that, because there are those frightening moments, right? Where you want something that's good. You want, to be validated. You want to be done.
Mm.
Sometimes where it's like, are we done?
I used to have a coach that used to say better done than perfect, that drove me, oh my God, I'm like, ah! That
Yeah.
one really, better done than perfect. I mean, that kind of
Yeah.
lit a fire under me a couple times, because I do tend to ruminate and try, um, we like to have a
Oh yeah.
good product. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to thank Julia here for her time and her enthusiasm. I know it's palpable. You can feel it through the airwaves, and see it on her face. Her energy is so great. I hope that you are as excited as I am about her forthcoming chapter, Building Connection with Unlikely Companions. I love that. You are the queen of community. I'm so
Oh,
proud of you. Just watching you go is so inspiring, to see you do your book tour from your under construction book, and to really see you flourish. If anybody would like to reach out to you, Julia, perhaps do one of those writing challenges with you, where can they reach you?
it's great to just jump on my website. I mean, there's a beautiful contact form that, I love receiving messages and inquiries that way. And that's juliaharriet.com. Harriet is one of those funny words that people are like, well, how's that spelled? So I always am just like, it's JuliaHarriet.com. And if you go there, then you can see, I'm posting from this 30-day challenge. I'm posting my own writing. I'm doing a really fun story that is in a great connection to the work that I brought forth in Awaken Leaders, because I thought that would be a fun way of connecting, where I'm just kind of revisiting a time in my life. And it's I think we're a lot of us, especially I'm a 41-year-old mom, and it's like rekindling my imagination and inspiring others to do that through this challenge. So it's a great place, and I'll be doing other challenges. Like I said, we've got this beautiful community that's building. So I'd love anybody that just says, yes, I want to play. Come play.
Count
Come
me
play
in.
and come
I'm a
build.
yes. Count me in. I'm a
Yeah.
yes. Okay, everybody. I hope that you have enjoyed this time with Julia Harriet. Julia Harriet Anderson, her website, juliaharriet.com. I hope you've enjoyed our time with her, and I hope that you are inspired to take up some writing, do some journaling, do some reflection, and maybe even be so bold as to share your story. Okay, everybody, that's going to do it for now. Until next time, this is Aeriol with Positive Vibes with Aeriol. Happy healing.